that I had to sacrifice my only son, not even my only son, any of my kids, for the world, for people that they don't even know. Some they do, and some don't even like them or care about them. I don't think that I don't I, I I honestly don't believe that I would, but God did. And so when we truly love Him, we put Him forefront. And when He calls us to be accountable, or calls us to make changes, we do it. Like, and in doing it, it's not always easy, but we do it because He deserves it. And so, um, I don't do anything about the fight. I see them in public a couple of times. It was hard the first couple of times because, me being, the flesh, we die to the flesh daily. Like, just because we said something once doesn't mean, sometimes we have to keep telling ourselves that thing until we ourselves truly believe that thing. Um, because sometimes it's hard. And so, yeah, the first couple of times I seen them, it was really hard not to say anything. I even left, basically without them knowing that I had seen them, because you know it was a trying time. It was still fresh. It was still um, new. But over time, you know, um, I prayed. I forgave them, and all was well. And now I can see them. If I see them, I see them. And there's no ill will or no hard feelings there. But that took time. But I one of the lessons, the many lessons that I've learned along this journey, was um, that treat people the way you want to be treated. And you know you can't don't in other words, don't be a do as I say, not as I do kind of person. Don't want respect and demand respect, but Christina, you don't give respect. you know um don't say that you don't want to be treated in a certain way, but find it okay for you to treat someone in a way that you yourself don't want to be treated. um and so that was like one of the first things, early on things, that I learned. And it has been instilled, and I try my best, sometimes or harder than others still. But I so far I've panned out okay. I haven't slipped, you know, and so I thank God for that. But yeah, so right after that lesson, like a couple about 2 weeks in later, I remember sitting in the room, and God um, sent me a blessing. Sent me a blessing. Sent me a blessing. Um, it was a friend of mine that I had went to school with. Um, Out of the blue, she reached out to me, and I told her what I was going through because God allowed me to share it with her. And I'll never forget, she said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you're going through this. You're like one of the nicest people I've ever met, da 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 da." And um, she got the address where we were. I gave her the address where we were so she could come see me. And she shows up, and how God will make a way when He says that He'll make a way even in the desert. Now, mind you, I'm in a motel, um, don't have nothing. But I'm not going to say I don't have nothing, because I have God, I have my family. But as far as material things went and finances, it was on flat at the time. And so I'm here, and I'm in this season of isolation, and I'm being pruned. I'm being poked and prodded and tested, and it's not easy, because some of the lessons that I learned early on were very harsh, if I say so myself. And they were kind of like thrown at me, and so some of them I failed a couple times and had to retake them until I started asking the right questions. But this to say, even in the desert, he makes a way. And so she comes, she shows up. I'm thinking she's just coming to see us, to see me, to visit. And I open the door. She texts and she says, I'm outside. And so I open the door, and she's standing there, and she's got pizza in her hand for everybody. And I'll never forget, like snacks and chips, and like she had to went to the store and made groceries basically, and brought hot pizza for us. And I remember her standing there in tears, and she's just hugging me and holding on to me. And she put some money in my hands, and I remember that, and I was like, wow, just out the blue. And I remember God saying, again, because even in the desert, I'll make a way. And so she leaves, and so a couple of days go by, and I'm sitting there, and we're counting the money to pay for the hotel, and we're short. Now, I don't know where we're going to get this money from once again. So I'm praying. I'm saying, God, well, you said that you're my provider, that you make a way out of no way. And so you see that I have a need, and I need to get this taken care of. Now, the first time the Holy Spirit told me about my TV, so I had to sell my TV and to pay for it. This time, however, I had nothing to sell, because that was all I took. And I never forget the Prophet Who's Live that I had been following really heavy since that night, sitting in there, and she praying for me. So every time she went live, I was there. And that night, she was live. And so I went into her room, her live. And as I'm sitting there in her live, she's praying and she's prophesying. And this lady from the room inboxes me. And I'll never forget it. It was like she basically said that, no, she just felt it in her spirit. She wanted to pray with me, and, boom, boom, boom. And I can't remember exactly what led to the conversation of me saying about I didn't have the money for the room. Because, again, I've always been a very private person and didn't like people in my business. So I can't remember exactly what led to me telling her, but I told her. And so when I did, I remember, because she came to me and she was saying about praying for me, and God sent her to me. And for some reason, I just basically poured out to her. Like, I just poured out what I was going through. And I'll never forget, I didn't know her from a can of paint. She was a total stranger. She was just somebody that used to come in the room at the same time as me when the prophet was teaching. And so that's where we were both consistent with being in there. And so when she inboxed me and she said about praying for me, and basically God had sent her my way.